important to me in my life, and I think it just fits in really well with some of the things that we're going to be talking about together this morning. And so I hope that you find some of the same joy and some of the same peace that I oftentimes feel as I listen to and as I sing this song. Heavenly Father, you always amaze me. Let your kingdom come in my world and in my life. You give me the food I need to live through today. And forgive me as I forgive the people who wronged me. I look out the window, the birds are composing. Not a note is out of tune or out of place. I walk to the meadows and stare at the flowers. Better dressed than any girl on her wedding day. So why should I worry? Why do I freak out? God knows what I need, and you know what I need. Your love is, and your love is, your love is strong. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. I look out the window and the birds are composing. Not a note is out of tune or out of place. I walk to the meadow and stare at the flowers. Better dressed than any girl on her wedding day. Again, one more time. So why should I worry? And why do I freak out? God knows what I need, and you know what I need. And your love is, and your love is, your love is strong. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. Your love is, your love is, your love is strong. And our God in heaven, hallowed be thy name above all names. Thy kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us, weary sinners. Keep us far from our vices and deliver us from this prisons. Thank you. So much for coming today. It's so great to see all of you guys. I'm sorry I wasn't able to greet you all as you were coming in, but it's really great to see all of you now, and I look forward to being able to talk with each of you after the service. And before we get into some of the meat of this, I have two stories that I would like to share with you. And I think that they're fantastic stories, and they're going to pertain quite a bit to what we're going to be talking about today, so I hope that you enjoy these. So the first one, this happened to me maybe 4 or 5 years ago, back when I was still in college. I was a junior at Bethel University. And one of the things that's really cool about Bethel University that I really enjoyed is they have this thing that we call the J term. So basically, during the month of January, we would have a single class that was a semester-long class smashed into a single month, and that was the only class that you took. And so you would be in class for 4 or 5 hours a day, Monday through Friday, the entire month of January. And sometimes that wasn't the greatest, and it was kind of tough to get all of your homework done, but other times it ended up being really an awesome opportunity. One of the things that was particularly special about the J term was that they offered study abroad classes during that time as well. And so for students like me who felt pretty anxious about leaving the country for an entire semester, got the opportunity for just one class for just 1 month that you could go somewhere that you have never been before. And I was very, very, very fortunate to be able to take advantage of that opportunity once while I was at Bethel. And so my junior year, I signed up for a class that followed the missionary journeys of Paul to kind of at and through the different routes and the different cities that he traveled to during his time while he was preaching. And you can follow along with a lot of those places in the book of Acts. And so that was a really incredible, just absolutely incredible opportunity that I got a chance to go to. And for those of you who are interested, this is something I learned when I went, is that actually a lot of the places that Paul visited were in modern-day Turkey and Greece. I did not know that so many of the letters that Paul had written actually were to cities in what's now modern-day Turkey. I just had no idea, so that was something that was really cool to learn. I absolutely loved this trip. And there was one big thing that happened while I was over there, and it actually happened on the very first day that we got there. I can be a little bit forgetful sometimes, and I also really like to connect with people and have some fun, and that combination of things sometimes when you're in a place that you've never been before, across the seas, is sometimes not the best mixture of characteristics to have. So we were in what was formerly known as Constantinople, which is now modern-day Istanbul in Turkey. And there are two absolutely gorgeous places of worship. One is a church and one is a mosque. The mosque is called the Blue Mosque, and the church is called the Hagia Sophia. And if you are bored today and want to look at some amazing architecture, Google that, and you will not be disappointed. Just absolutely stunning stone domes and stained glass windows, and in Arabic culture, calligraphy is one of the highest forms of art, and so you have just beautiful calligraphy just absolutely everywhere on the walls, and it was just one of the most stunning, magical things that I have ever seen in my entire life. Naturally, of course, all of us in the group wanted to take pictures. We wanted to not only experience everything now, but also be able to go back and remember those details in stunning clarity through using photographs. And of course, there was a selfie stick that was brought along as well, and I had one of the longest arms in the group, and so I oftentimes was the person to hold the selfie stick and take a picture. Well,
I'd never used one before up until the trip, and I was a little shaky in my arm. It's kind of hard to hold a phone, it's extended all the way out there. And so every time I'd take a picture of us, the picture would be blurry. And by the time that the third time that the picture was blurry, everyone was getting kind of frustrated with me, and everyone was kind of laughing. And I was like, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm trying my best here. And at that moment, while we were inside of the Blue Mosque, some of the people who were cleaning and helping maintain the mosque screamed at us. They were not happy that we were making a ruckus and that we were making so much noise. And immediately, all of us felt very embarrassed and very ashamed. And so we all just kind of hustled on out, and we were like, okay, we don't want to cause any more trouble. Like we don't want to do any of that. Well, I didn't realize it at the time, but I left something very, very, very valuable still inside of the Blue Mosque. So we all get out everyone gets out, our group moves on, we go eat lunch, and we head back to the bus. And I sit down, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is so awesome. I can't believe that I'm here. And as I continued to see students walk onto the bus, I noticed that everyone had a backpack on. And I thought to myself, well, I have a backpack. And I looked around. Wasn't next to me on my seat. I was like, maybe I put it on a different seat. So I stood up and I kind of tried to figure out, okay, where's my backpack at here? And I quickly discovered that it was not on the bus. So I immediately went up to our tour guide named Ostjan, and I said, Ostjan, I am almost 100% positive that I left my backpack inside of the Blue Mosque. And just like that, he leapt into action. He was already on his cell phone. He literally leaped off the bus while it was in motion. I couldn't believe it. I mean, this guy was like Indiana Jones finding my my backpack for me. And he runs off, and I'm just like, I hope he gets it. And here's the kicker, is that I had pretty much everything with me still. I had my camera that my parents had given me. I had my class books. Everything that was in my backpack was mostly unimportant for the most part. However, my parents gave me a gift of $300 in an envelope that was inside of my backpack. And inside, I was just freaking out because I thought for sure that I didn't think that I would be able to get this back. And I felt just horrible, and I felt so ashamed that I had lost this incredible gift, this incredible thing that my parents had given me, and I wasn't going to be able to, support some of the local shops in our trip, and I wasn't going to be able to bring back souvenirs, and I wasn't going to be able to do some of the things that my other classmates were going to do, and I just was upset. And I didn't tell my parents at first, because I was so ashamed. It turns out that Ostjan, despite trying his absolute hardest, could not figure out where my backpack was. And so we had to move on to the next city, and we flew all the way down to the south side of Turkey. And I thought to myself, all right, that's it. It's gone. So I eventually got the nerve to give my parents a call, which, by the way, calling internationally costs a pretty penny by itself, so I was trying not to do that for that reason as well. So I gave them a call and I said, Mom and Dad, I have some news that I need to tell you. And they were like, well, what's going on? Thinking something real severe was happening. And I said, well, I lost my backpack. I was being an idiot, and I put my backpack down when we were taking pictures, and then this big scare thing happened, and then I just went out and I didn't even think about it. And I was like, and I'm so upset because I left all my money in there that you guys gave me. And right then, my mom and my dad, they stopped me and they said, no, Austin, the money's been in your account this entire time. We just gave you that envelope saying $300 as a physical representation of what we had already given you. And I'm sure that some of you in the room know the feeling when you are so certain or you are so oblivious to something that was already true the entire time. And then when you realize it, something clicks, and all of a sudden you feel that peace and you feel that, oh my gosh, everything's okay. right? I want to see a raise of hands. How many have had that feeling before, right? I think almost everyone, right? So that was just an incredible thing for me to find out that, I didn't lose the money. Plus, on top of everything else, a week later, I did end up getting my backpack back. My backpack was seized and, of course, searched for any weapons or bombs or anything like that, and so they had it locked away in a back room, but eventually they did reach out to Ostjohn and say, hey, we did find a blue, Swiss Army backpack, and it got shipped back to me, and I was able to use my backpack the rest of the time, so it ended up being kind of a double good there. So that's my first story. Now, the second story that I want to share you is much, much shorter, and it'll be a good lead-in here to a little bit of a shorter message to give you, because we also have a video that I'd like us all to watch as well. Just recently here over Thanksgiving, I got to be with all my family. They all live in Illinois, and so, or at least all of my mom's side of the family, I should say. So my mom's side of the family all came up from Illinois, and we got to celebrate at my parents' house down in Carver, which is where I grew up here in Minnesota for the last 13 years or so. And, we were talking and we were chatting, and we were all lining up to get into the Thanksgiving prayer circle, before we say grace. And my cousin Claire was telling us all a story about how she loves the song "This Is Amazing Grace" by Phil Wickham. Do you guys know that one? This is amazing grace. No, it's a good one. We'll have to sing that sometime, maybe. And how she oftentimes says to her friends, she'll point at something, or when they're in a moment that is special, or they're experiencing something, a food that just tastes so good, or they're having a great conversation, and Claire will just go, "Oh, this is amazing grace." And her friends oftentimes don't understand what she meant by that. And so she was telling us, my friends don't really understand what amazing grace is. And so whenever I think to myself, wow, this is something worth appreciating, this is something worth acknowledging, this is something worth bringing up, this food is delicious, this time together has been amazing, that concert was unbelievable, I can't believe that we get to drive in a car. And she will say, this is amazing grace, so that her friends can understand just a little bit more of what that gift, of what that blessing is for us. And I thought that was beautiful. And it connected so well into something that's been on my heart here for the last couple of weeks, and something that has just been so eye-opening for me, and I want to share that with you this morning. And for a second, we're going to go back to the scripture that Pastor Brian got to share with us. And in those moments where we're running away from something, Jacob, his brother said that he wanted to kill him, and he ran away. He was in a foreign country, a foreign land. He had no idea where he was. He had no idea what he was going to do next in a lot of ways. So he just finds a random cave, because it's getting dark out. You got to find shelter someplace, right? So he goes into this cave. He just finds a rock and uses it as a pillow. Lays his head down. He has this crazy dream. And he wakes up, and just like that moment that I had, a little different, but pointing to the same truth, I think, he wakes up and he realizes something that was true the entire time. That God's presence was right there with him in the cave, and I would even argue even well before the cave, and that God's presence was with him right then and there. And the difference between before he fell asleep and after he woke up wasn't that God's presence or God's blessing or God's gifts weren't given to him. It was his awareness of that fact that was different. And my friends, I want to share with you today that I think that most oftentimes in life, I think that there are gifts and blessings and presents, like gifts as in presents, but also God's presence with us, surrounding us, always. And there's a few things I want to point out that I oftentimes find amazing, and some of these things may not be quite as amazing for you, but I promise if you dig hard enough, you will find things that amaze the heck out of you. The very fact that there is something rather than nothing. The very fact that we are all sitting in this room together and that I am talking to you and that you all understand what I'm saying. The fact that you are breathing, that I am breathing without even having to think about it. The fact that we notice whether this room is hot or whether it's cold. The fact that none of us are just sinking through the very floor. The fact that we can look over and see the beautiful colors of the stained glass. The fact that our minds are advanced enough that we've been able to invent a device called the microphone in which I can talk to you without straining my voice and all of you can hear me. The fact that we probably all utilized transportation to get here today. The fact that we, just everything. Everything when you really take the time to sit and appreciate it and open yourself up to the blessing of the moment is truly, truly, truly a gift. And I would argue to you that even in the moments where things just feel absolutely terrible, they feel so hard that things don't feel like they're coming together. Maybe you had a fight with a loved one. Maybe you're stuck in traffic and you're late for a meeting. Maybe your body isn't working quite right the way that you wish it would. Even though there are things that are difficult and tough, I promise you, if you take the time, if you open yourself up to the blessings and the gifts that God has abundantly given, and if you have thanksgiving in your heart, and if you allow yourself to be moved from being unimpressed or taking things for granted to moving yourself into a place of awe and of thanksgiving and of gratefulness, I promise that you will never be able to live life the same ever again. And it's a very, very good thing. And it sounds difficult. It's not always easy. I firsthand can tell you that. It is very difficult to always constantly remind yourself of the things that we've been blessed with, but I promise they're there. And I would like to even say that even if you don't think that they're there, even if your awareness isn't quite there yet, that there is a blessing in your life, I promise you that just because you aren't aware of it doesn't mean that it's not there. And so I want to encourage us all today and every day to continually challenge ourselves to open us up to the reality that each and everything is a blessing and that God has just abundantly given, and that doesn't have to be wasted.